So this is one of my favorite event edits, and here's a quick breakdown of the techniques I used. So it's actually a fast-paced event edit built around momentum. So you're gonna see lots of high energy movement, quick cuts, and transitions and motion blurs here. So I begin the edit with a slow shutter motion blur, which you'll see across the entire event edit. So we go this way. This is a slow shutter quick pan. Let me turn off the audio so that we can focus. So the video begins with a slow shutter quick pan, sped up a bit. Yeah. And this is my workflow for editing events, edit like hyper event edits. I usually begin in After Effects. I do the main editing After Effects and then the sound design in Premiere Pro. I do it in After Effects because maybe I would want to do, like, I have more control over time remapping and also adding slice animations and VFX to the clip. So that's the reason why I begin in After Effects. Okay. And this particular part, it's a hyperlapse. A hyperlapse is taking series of images in a particular direction. It could be a straightforward direction, pushing in or maybe pushing out, or in an arc motion. So we see that here, the beginning here, it's a pushing in hyperlapse. So there are lots of images in a straight like in one direction or in a particular flow. Then the same thing here. Here is in the arc motion. And also this also in the arc motion. So if we go into one of them, you see lots of images. So lots of images arranged. So I actually selected one point, as you can see here, and rearrange all the images to that particular focal point, and then added the tracking. I tracked it, I track stabilized it, and added warp stabilizer effects to it to make it more stable. So this is how it looks. Then in the main edit, I sped it up a bit so that it can flow with the other one. So that's the same process I use for all the hyperlapse, all the images. Yeah. And then this is actually a drone shot. Shout out to Teddy for this amazing drone shot. So it's actually from the, I think it's from the, yeah, from the bottom to the top. So I sped it, it was very slow. So I sped it up a bit using time remapping. So we can see in the curves. So it was sped up to match the flow of the edit. Then I added a radial blur because I didn't really like how the environment was looking in the shot, just to hide the ugly part a bit. Then a match cut. So there's the Free the Youth logo. Since it's in a circular motion, as soon as I saw this, I'm like, okay, I can do a match cut easily. The logo is a circle, right? So I shot more videos of their logo on site to sell the effect. You see? And it wasn't enough, so I went online to get more images of their logo. So this is just an image. This is another logo, another image which has their logo. Another one, same here. Then now to the slow shutter motion blur again. You will see lots of this. Like it's an easy way to transition between clips. So you reduce the shutter speed in your camera, then you just make quick pans and tilts to achieve this. And this is a beauty shot. Yeah, more of like a medium close-up of these beautiful ladies. Then now to this part. This part is more of like quick cuts of peculiar motions of the people skating. Yeah, so I made sure to shoot close-ups, kind of not too close-up, but like to emphasize on the skate. So I just took my time to cut out the peculiar motions to achieve the flow of what I wanted. So here they are all quick cuts. If you play it, you can see. Then to the slow shutter again for the transition. Then this one is a grid. So since the entire edit is based on momentum, everything is kind of moving fast. So it moves fast and slows down a bit to reduce the strain on the viewer's eye. That's the whole idea. So it goes fast, then quick cut, slow, quick cut, then you see, slows down a bit. Then this one is actually the slow shutter effect again. So it wasn't done in post, it was just done on site using the camera. Then to another match cut again. So this is a match cut of the Nike shoes. I also applied radial blur to hide unwanted areas in the scene so that the focus is on the shoe. So it goes again, quick cut, then to slow shots a bit. Now on this side, this is where transition happens. So when it moves from fast to slow, then as soon as the dunking happens, I put in a quite solid layer, like just for like 2 frames to sell the effects more like a flash. So we go this way. As soon as it flashes, then it moves to this scene. And also another transition will happen soon. Yes. So I spared this clip to a little bit and cut it where the motion was at its peak. So it goes, I think, yeah, I applied the time remap. Yeah. Yeah, but it wasn't too much because without the time remap, the effects could have been achieved anyways, but just to speed it up a little bit. Yes. So I cut exactly in between to review the next subject. Then here's a flash effect. You can achieve this by using the exposure. Animate your exposure from the highest to the lowest. So as soon as it changes, then flashes to the subject drinking, flashes again to a close-up. So it is more like a close-up than to a whip pan. And I added the slow shutter motion blur again to help sell the whip pan a bit. And also I think I applied a directional blur to the whip pan to sell the effects more so that it could blend with the other motion blur that I added. So it goes this way. Yeah, right. So motion blur to transition to the next scene. So this part, I don't know, yeah, it's more like a match cut, but not a quick match cut. So it's the same subject we are seeing in frame. Then to a medium close-up, then to a close-up. But then when it gets closer, then when it got closer, Then I introduced this animated character because it's the same thing that was on the board. Yeah, and this was animated by JX. Shout out to JX. Yeah, and when the character pops out, I applied a Gaussian blur behind it to sell the effect more, to show that the character has popped out of the box. Then I introduced the motion blur again to transition to the next one, to the next scene. So this one of, I think, yeah, this is my favorite part. The stomping feet. So as soon as the feet lands on the ground, it cuts to this video. This video of the shoe. So I actually requested for a 3D version of the shoe, but it wasn't available. And they only had a video made by someone. So they sent this to me. It was on the black background. I'm like, okay, cool. I can just time remap it to sell the effect. So this, as soon as it hits, then I sped it up. Then reversed it backwards. Yes. So it's just one. So this is the original video. Then I duplicated it around it. Added a little bit of noise on the entire scene. And also radial blur, so that the focus is on the main shoe. So as soon as it comes back and hits in this position, then it cuts to this video. So I introduced this one with a flash cut of the shoe with glow on it as it's zooming backwards. I actually think it's a skill. If we enter into the composition, could see that it was scaled backwards to achieve the effect. So back to the main edit. Then another slow shutter motion blur again. So there's a normal simple cut shot. The motion blur again to another one. So another motion blur to transition into this scene. Then cuts to this scene of these girls too. Then another motion blur to transition to the next scene. So this side actually it's a grid, and I reviewed the grid with the flash effect. As I mentioned early on, you animate the exposure from the highest to the lowest. So I did that for all the clips, and I sequenced it so that it reviews sequentially like this. Then now to another grid of close-ups of the graffiti artist. Then another motion blur to transition to the next one. So this side is actually a crash zoom, goes in this way, then match cut of the logo, the event. So crash zoom, match cut, crash zoom, match cut. So the idea was it's crash zooms, match cut fast, that was a like quick cut, then to slow motion of these guys skating, then motion blur, then another slow motion again. So it was more like fast to slow, then fast to slow. Keep you engaged without straining your eye. So it's not quick cuts throughout. It goes fast then goes slow, fast and slow. Makes the video enjoyable. Then another motion blur to transition. So another match cut again. This is a match cut of the faces of the basketball players. I also apply the radial blur around it so that the unwanted areas are hidden, and also keeps the focus on the subject. And here flash review effect again. Another flash review effect again. I think yeah, the same thing throughout. Then fast cut to the main event, the main rave. So because it was the entire video was built around momentum, this particular side I added wiggle effects, and also I took my time to cut out peculiar motions that could sell the energetic vibe the event was giving. So from this side going, it's just high energy using the wiggle effect, and also I got more shots of the smoke and fire effects on grounds to sell the energetic effects more. So here it goes fast, then slows down, then with the help of the slow shutter motion blur. So we go fast, slows down, fast, then energy flow out, more fire, energy, wiggle. And one thing about editing is, or editing stuff like this is, you have to look out for more peculiar motions, like high energetic peculiar motions. That's what can sell the effects and the vibe you are looking for. So this side like this, as soon as the subject lands, then there is smoke, then more smoke, fire, crowd shot, fire, smoke, all with the wiggle effect. Without the wiggle effect, it's going to look very bland and wouldn't give the vibe we are looking for. So smoke, fire, wiggle effect, motion blur, drone shots. You see, as soon as this guy jumps, then there's smoke coming out with wiggle effects, motion blur, crowd shot, smoke, motion blur, and so high energy. Yes. So let's go over with the music. And mind you, there's no sound design done here. This is just the raw edits without sound design, just the music. So we'll head over to Premiere Pro to go through the sound design process too a bit. Let me enable all the sounds.
In a club with some wines and I pipe down. Shawty got me out too high. I be standing on the beach in some white ones. Can't control, I think I'm too fly.
Yeah, and that's it. Also, the tempo of the music also helped sell the effects very much. So yeah, we head over to Premiere Pro to go through the sound design. After this, I usually export the video to the highest quality I can. Then I take it over to Premiere Pro to continue. So we are in Premiere Pro now to go through the sound design. This is how the timeline looks like. This is how it looks like. It looks a lot, but it's quite straightforward. It's very simple. There are lots of replications of the same sound effects because some stuff repeats throughout the sequence, like the slow shutter motion blur. It repeats a lot, so the same sound effects will be applied to it. And sound design is more is more about layering, right? I mean, if it's a whip pan, you can just use a whoosh sound effect. But to sell the effects more, you have to layer it. You can add a little bit of texture. You can add, if it's a whoosh, this could be a deep whoosh plus a simple whoosh. So it's more about layering. Okay. So that's a technique that I used, or I always use in my sound design process. And I also make sure every little detail has a sound attached to it. Okay. So the video begins this way. There's so I wanted it to be more of like a hook, right? So it begins with a very hard impact with some muffed kick and warp sound effects. Then a micro digit sound effect in addition to add texture to it. And then with the hyperlapse in the videos, I use a ratchet sound effect to make it give like the vibe like something with to give like we are running through something quickly. You get it? So first hyperlapse, use a ratchet sound effect. Then second one, ratchet sound effect. Then third one, ratchet sound effect. And also you have the camera flash charging effect. I use this a lot to give more like, it's more like a build up kind of vibe. Yeah, and the impact hits. The impact hits at the beginning of each hyperlapse. Get it? So for the match cuts, I stretched one ratchet sound and cut one of it. I cut a portion and made sure to rearrange it. I duplicated and rearrange it at the beginning of each match cut. It's the detailing that makes the work stand out and also very unique. I could have just put a ratchet sound effect and it would have done it the same way, but this one makes it more unique and detailed. So this side to the whoosh is a whoosh with micro digit texture, and I copied and pasted this almost at every slow shutter motion blur. As I said, every little detail we put in sound design, we put in sound. And also I use the police siren because the whole idea about the brand is more like you see this kind of gangster kind of thing. These guys riding bicycles, skating all over in the city. Usually they have these police guys chasing them because like they don't, like they are free and wild and doing their own stuff. So to introduce that scene, I began, I think there's more like an L cut, or is it a J cut? No, it's a J cut. So the sound comes in before the visuals to introduce, like to show that something is about to happen. Yeah. So the police siren comes in before the display of the skate. It adds to the ambience. Then that's the basketball effect. Then same ratchet sound for the shoe match cut. So any little thing, you add sound effects. So when the push for the transition, also I added a tiny to, like, you see when there's a car accident in the movie, then there's a sharp sound that is to show that, like, you are not able to be conscious, like to give that unconscious vibe. Yeah. So I reduced, I think I added a low pass effect to the music itself at that point. Yeah, so that the focus is, like, it draws your attention to what's happening there and there. So when the lady drinks it, then there's also a sound effect. And this side, no sound. Yes. So that's an impact sound right there. So impact sound effects, pushes, they are all being layered. And also this part where the shoe rotates, I stretched the ratchet sound a bit. I stretched a bit so that it gives, like, it's rotating and it's slows down, like it's slowing down. We can't give it the same tempo as it's being fast. So I stretched a bit. You can simply do it by just speed, duration, then you go to your speed and type. So the original speed was 100%. I made it 50% so that it gives the slow vibe. Then it goes fast again, then to the next one. Also, it's free the youth, and they have an eagle as their totem, or like as a symbol they use. So I found an eagle sound effect for that side. You could hear the sound effect there. Also, I introduced the crowd effect because I think at that time the event, the rave part of the event was beginning and people were there jamming a little bit. So that was the idea. So another whoosh effect. Then these are all camera sound. As I said, every little detail you put in the sound effects to sell the entire vibe you are looking for. And also I reduce the sound. I keyframe the original music a bit so that the spirit sound effect stands out. Then back to the whooshes. And we have a mechanical, the ratchet again. We have the ratchet again. You see, based on the flow of the video, I added the bass sound effect for the slow motion part. And also I think I increased the sound of the crowd a bit, but also added the low pass effect. So the effect. So every tiny detail, there's a sound effects there. As soon as the ball hits, the crowd shouts or screams, but then there's a low pass effect on it, so that it's not too loud. So to the rave part. So you have the impact sounds, the bass drops, the texture with whap kicks and wobbles. then whooshes for the smoke in the fire. So whooshes for the movement, whooshes for the smoke. Yeah. Also, I added this sound effect, fire whoosh, for the fire and the smoke as well. And also this side, the crowd sound effect was a bit prominent. It was very intense. This side too, I reduced it. I faded the sound a bit. I cut that side, the part where the subject jumps. I reduce the sound so that it introduces to give you that vibe like something is about to, and also I used a riser to introduce the next hit. So it was very intentional. It makes the edits breathe and also makes the viewer anticipate what's about to happen. I've kept the sound throughout, but that would be very boring. So to make the edits very, very interesting, there are highs and lows, there are low pass effects, there are high passes. But I didn't use a high pass in this, but there are low pass effects so that the sound effects can stand out in certain areas. Crowd sounds very prominent in this side, on this side. So this side we applied the low pass effects again. Then added the sharp tiny, I don't know the pronunciation, is it tinnitus or tinnitus effects again. Yeah, I use that because the subject was hitting, like throwing his hand. So more like he hit, and now everywhere, like it's giving the vibe like he's hit something or somebody has slapped you, and then all you can hear is that sharp sound. So that was the vibe I was going for. Then I accompanied with the whooshes and the wap kicks and the wobble effects. Then ended with the whooshes with the textures on it. So I'm going to play the video without the main sound, just the sound effects. Yeah, and that's it. So very energetic, very chaotic, but also there are breathers in there to help the viewer watch and enjoy and not strain their eye. There's a little breakdown. I mean, it's not so much detailed, but we could use this for something. So this brings us to the end of the video. This is my first time making long form content like this. So with time, it's going to get better. If you stay with me throughout, make sure to share this to your editor friend, subscribe, and hopefully I'll be making more videos like this. So see you in the next one. Stay creative.